Hello and welcome to the Black Hat Bushcraft channel. This afternoon I'm out here in my backyard just tinkering with a couple of little primitive traps. And one particular trap I wanted to share with you is one that I learned about from Dave Canterbury. He has a very old video on his channel way back like 2011. He did a video on this trap. He calls it, I believe, the Kleptsy trap. But I've been tinkering with that and trying to just tweak it a little bit to get the best results. Keep in mind I'm not using actual natural materials, or at least not all natural materials. I'm using some scraps out of my wood shop. Nonetheless, the technique to make the trap and the angles and the triggers and all that type of stuff, it's all the same whether you're using natural material or scraps from lumber or whatever. So you'll get the idea of how the trap works. This would be a perfect little trap for small game. And if you think of a survival scenario, most likely you'll be able to trap smaller, lower food chain type animals, maybe chipmunks, squirrels, rats, things like that. And this trap would be excellent for those types of game and would definitely be a killing trap if set up correctly. So I did want to show this trap and just give you an idea how it works. Maybe it'll throw an idea out there that might benefit someone. So stick with me and let's test out this trap. All right, so this is a frontal view of this trap. It's basically two stakes driven in the ground. I'm putting a crossbar here because when you tighten this windlass, which is just 36 bank line here, with this crossbar here, which creates like a toggle to wind it up, of course that's going to pull inward as that cord binds, and then this will help prevent the trap from closing in on itself. But all you're doing is you're winding the trap up like this. Wind this up, and that creates the tension. When you release the trigger, this will come down. So that's basically how that works. The trigger itself is just a split trigger. It comes from a single stick. Make two stop cuts on opposing sides, break the stick, and then just trim it out. You can see I have a point on one end. When this trigger goes together, you actually bait that little point right there, peanut butter, piece of fruit, whatever you want to put, and then when the animal comes to get that bait, he collapses the trigger, which then sets the trap. I'll show you all of that in action. All right, so let's get this trap set up. Basically the premise is, this being a windlass, all you have to do is pull pressure back, and that creates the potential energy that will be released by the trigger stick and create the killing blow, or in this case the stab, the penetration with that spike. When I first started doing this, I was putting the trigger stick here at this point, and that didn't give a lot of momentum because the trap was quickly ending its travel here. However, a gentleman on my Instagram page recommended to me to turn this thing another half turn and put the trigger stick on the back side. I believe his name's Rick Heil, and that was a really good suggestion. I appreciate Rick sharing that with me, and I think it makes a difference for the trap. So with this trap, the key is to keep one hand on this windlass. If you let go of that thing and it comes down and hits your hand, that would be a bad day. So I'm going to use one hand to set the trigger stick, and the other hand's going to keep pressure there. I slowly release pressure to wedge that trigger stick in place, and now pull my hands free and the trap is set. This trap is relatively sensitive. What I'm going to do is use this banana. I know that'll look a little funny, but I'm going to use the banana to simulate an animal coming into the trap. We've got this peg right here baited with peanut butter, with a berry, with granola, whatever, something that you had in your pack. And now the animal comes in to eat that and sets off the trap, which now impales the animal. You can see that spike penetrated well into that banana. And that would definitely be a killing strike there for the animal, I believe. This is a very sharp, finely tuned spike here. One thing that I want to call your attention to is notice that I've got roughly a 135-degree angle out with this spike. When I first started doing this, I had it tied in at a 90, and what happened is when the trap came down, the spike was missing the animal, and I was just catching it right here on the edge of the crossbar. But by changing that angle to the 135, when it comes down, we get a perfect stab straight down into the animal or whatever, in this case, the banana. So that angle, that 135 coming out with the spike, that really seems to make a difference, and something that I learned just by trial and error here. And that's it. It's a very simple trap. It's easy to set with just a little fiddling, and I believe that it would be a very effective killing trap on smaller game, which in a survival scenario, of course, is going to be what's most plentiful and what you're going to have the most luck in getting. Once again, let's set this trap off. Boom. You can see, I think it would do a great job. right, so you can see that's an effective little trap, and it's quite simple to set up. I know I didn't go into detail and show you how I set it up and do all that on camera, but hopefully just by seeing the trap and seeing the function, you can get an idea of how it works. If there's a lot of interest, I can always go back and do another video showing it step by step as far as the construction. So I will throw out a quick disclaimer that I'm definitely not an expert where it comes to primitive trapping. However, it's something I've spent quite a bit of time working on lately, and it's a skill set that I'm trying to hone. There's certain traps and triggers that I've practiced over time and know very well, but I want to add to that and again just polish that skill set just a little bit more. And that's really what this is all about, is I'm just coming out in the backyard with 15 or 20 minutes to spare each afternoon and just tweaking on this particular trap. And over the last 3 days, I've learned something every day when I've come out here and piddled with it. So keep in mind, you don't have to go way deep into the woods to practice a skill. Sometimes you can develop your skill sets right in the backyard with 15 or 20 minutes a day and pick up something along the way. And over time, that really amounts to something. So remember, get in the backyard and do a little practice if you don't have another opportunity, and it'll make a difference. The key is not just watching the videos or understanding it book-wise, but actually getting out and getting your hands dirty and practicing it. That's the key. Nothing substitutes for that. I want to thank you guys for your time and interest. I hope you'll stick around with the Black Hat Bushcraft channel. Don't forget to get over and check on that giveaway video. I'll definitely be back talking to you with another video very soon. And until that one, take care and God bless.